Hi, welcome to episode 473 of The Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, which is where this episode and every episode show notes will be. And I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea, where I sell my handspun yarns and knitting patterns. Hi, how are you? I hope that you are doing well. It is Monday, May 6th. We are in a new month. And my month is off to a good start. I celebrated a birthday yesterday, so I am a year older, and one would hope wiser, but sometimes I don't even know. Excuse me. So it's Monday, May 6th. I'm coming to you from a suburb of Kansas City. I am on the Kansas side. And the weather today, we are going back and forth between lots and lots and lots of thunderstorms and rain, and then it being sunny for a little while, but quite humid. So it has not been hot yet, but it definitely has been a little bit humid, and the weather's not great. It's spring in the Midwest. We have thunderstorm warnings daily. So that's kind of what we're up to. I had a really quiet weekend. It was really nice. I decided I was going to sort of give myself a birthday weekend and only do the things that I really wanted to do. So on Saturday, I slept late and I kind of hung out around the house. And then I have a book club that meets once every month or so, and we decided to go out and we went to a wine bar. So I had a glass of wine and we sat and discussed the book and talked about the next book that we're going to read. And then on Saturday evening, my husband and I went out to dinner. My birthday wasn't actually till Sunday, but we decided to go someplace nice on Saturday night. Sunday night's a school night, and we always feel like we have to rush and get home and get everything ready. So we just went on Saturday, and it was really, really lovely. And then yesterday, on my actual birthday, I got up not too early, but early enough, and I went out and did a 5K at the local park. It wasn't a sponsored thing. I just went and did it. And then I treated myself to a manicure and pedicure, which was really nice. And then I came home and just sat all afternoon. I don't even know what I did. We watched TV. I screwed around on the computer. I did a little bit of crafting. I just kind of hung out, and it was really nice and quiet. And I think it was the perfect way to spend the weekend. So I do have a little bit of crafting to show you. I'm still not doing a ton of crafting. I'm still knitting probably about 8 to 10 rows a day. I mean, I'm up to 8 to 10 now, and I'm embroidering a little bit, and actually I did get back to spinning this week, but I don't have anything to show you because I'm right in the middle of plying. So I will talk to you about the things that I am working on. So I can't remember. Well, okay, first let's start with the tea. Today I am drinking Stash English breakfast. A friend gave me a whole goodie bag full of different Stash teas, and I decided to just pull one out at random today. And it's actually perfect because I also made some banana bread yesterday. So I had some banana bread and some English breakfast tea, which is like the perfect afternoon snack. It is about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm taking a brief break from work to record a quick podcast. I had meetings, so I didn't eat lunch until now, but yeah. And I'm drinking it in the Bean mug, which is a coffee house near here that also does tea as well. So English breakfast tea, which is just a good afternoon pick-me-up. A little caffeine, a little sweetness. It'll be nice to kind of finish out the afternoon. So I cannot remember if I showed you this last week or not. I finished the garter stitch scarf that I have been doing. So as a brief background for those of you who haven't been watching the last few weeks, I have had tendonitis, and so I think it's mostly calmed down now, but I'm still sort of not back up to my full knitting speed, and I'm taking a lot more breaks than usual. But as a way to I had stopped knitting for a couple weeks entirely, and then I started to sort of bring some of it back in. And sort of as I don't want to say therapeutic, but sort of to take things easy, I decided to start a garter stitch scarf. And what I did is I cast it on lengthwise so that I could change colors every row, and the ends would then become fringe. And what I did is I gathered together a whole bunch of different bits and bobs of leftover yarns. I just have a big bin of leftovers from, this time I took kind of anything from Sport through DK Worsted, and the colors that I chose were kind of pinks and greens, and so I worked on those and I turned those into a scarf. So I worked on it for a couple weeks, I think about 2 weeks total, and this is where I ended up. So like I said, it's garter stitch, so it's knitting every row, flipping back and forth, and then in the end what I did is I tied everything in knots, and then when I had my fringe, I lined it up under my quilting ruler, and I took the rotary cutter, and which is like the best way to do fringe because it comes out perfectly. And so now I have all my ends have perfectly even fringe because I just, like I said, I cut them with the rotary cutter under the ruler. So I guess they're not 100% perfect, but they're pretty darn close. So I cast on 250 stitches, and I ended up with a scarf that is about 56 inches long, which is roughly where I was going for. I wanted to get to about 60, so I came out a little less than that. And then I thought about it and thought 60 inches is 5 feet, and I probably want to make it slightly longer than 5 feet. So spoiler alert, I cast on a second one and I did a few more. But basically I cast on 250 stitches, and then I just knit until I reach the width that I like, which is about 6 inches. I probably could have gone a little bit more, and then I cast off, and what I did is I just changed colors every single row. So I have two sides, and they look slightly different based on how the colors interact. And I use the same colors multiple times, although I only ever did one row of a single color before breaking it up with other colors, and I just use bits and bobs of my greens and pinks. One side looks a little bit more green and the other side looks a little bit more pink. But I was really happy with this, and I actually have enough to do probably another scarf. The colors wouldn't be as widely varied because I did use some up, but I have plenty of greens, and I do actually have quite a few more pinks. So I might do another one in this colorway, or in these colors, before I get to the end of making these and sort of using up my stash, which is one of the things that I'm working on, kind of using up my leftovers in these scarves. But I decided that I wanted to switch to a different set of colors, just for something a little bit different. So this is the first one that is done and completed, and I'm really happy with it. And it was a pleasure to knit. The first few rows were definitely harder to knit than the last few, and I think it was a good way of keeping things easy. So I've actually started a second scarf. And this time I picked primarily dark colors. I had lots and lots of purples, but I also had some reds and some oranges, and so I just have all kinds of bits and bobs of different things in here. I have a little bit of oranges, I have some grays. What else do I have? It's just kind of a mess in here. So this is kind of the colorway palette, and actually I had one little bit of variegated yarn left over from a previous project. Let's see if I can find it in here. Yep. So this was a colorway from, I think this one actually is Monostil Uruguay. I'm pretty sure. And I knit some kind of shawl or scarf out of this, if it's the one that I'm thinking of. And it's got lots of pretty jewel tones in it. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the end. Oof. So I've only got a little bit of it left. It was Alegria from Monostil Uruguay, and I cannot remember the name, but it is purples and blues and pinks and reds. So you can kind of see the colors here. And what I decided was that I just kind of wanted to echo that. There's, and there's spots that it's a little orangey. And I decided I just kind of wanted to echo that with all the colors that I had in my leftovers. So I pulled it together, and I started a second one, and here is where I'm at. So again, I'm just using all different colors and just one row at a time. And so I've got my oranges and my purples, and I have a couple variegated ones, and I put a little bit of gray in there. And so it's really just kind of jewel tones, kind of dark saturated tones. And at this point, I don't think I have any colors left to put in that are not already in. So it's just going to be more of the same. And I'm doing the same thing, which is I'm just leaving the ends here. I do knot them every few rows just to keep the stitches neat, but they're all different lengths. And again, at the end, I will just cut them as I did before. I'll just measure it off whatever the smallest end that I left was, and then cut it with the quilting ruler and rotary cutter, and that's both sides. This one I decided I wanted to be a little bit longer. So based on the fact that 250 stitches produced about 56 inches, I went ahead, I'm using the same needle, I'm using roughly the same weight yarns, and so I went ahead and cast on 300 stitches. So my hope is at this point, I can't remember, I did calculate it out like between 4 and 5 stitches per inch, what that would actually what that would actually entail in inches, and it's going to give me something like between 60 and 70 inches, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Let's see, if it were 5 stitches and I cast on 50 more, so that would be another 10 inches. So I would be up to 66 inches. So it's going to be somewhere between 66 and 70 inches is my guess. So that is kind of what I'm working on now. And my plan is to work on this week. Originally, I thought I might, so I am going to the East Coast for a family event this weekend. And I will be taking a plane ride, and I wanted to take a few projects with me that I could work on. Now, typically when I travel, I take a ton of knitting with me, and I spend pretty much the whole day in the airports and on the planes knitting. And my wrists are not ready for that. So I was trying to decide what I wanted to take with me. And this project was near the top because it's something that I knew I could work on comfortably, and I knew I could just work on a few rows here and there. But then I decided I have like a decent sized bag of leftovers, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to take this big a bag on a trip where we are literally just doing carry-on, because I can get into like a purse and a very like small weekender bag. And so I don't know if I'm going to take this project with me or not. I would really like to, but I can't decide. So if I don't take this project with me, then I will show you what I will take with me. But this is going to be kind of my work on stuff this week. So I should have some progress to show you next week. So that is what I've got so far. And again, it's just kind of jewel tones. It's coming across a little brighter here and a little bit less jewel toned, a little more fiesta maybe, I don't know. I'm enjoying it. It's definitely got some brights in it, and actually I'm really glad to see so I work on this in the evenings on my couch in the living room, and the light out there isn't the best, and it's been fairly dim for the last several evenings, and I've been looking at it thinking, oh, I wonder if these colors are all too dark, if there's enough like bright and enough variation that you can kind of, that it's interesting to look at, or does it look very monotone? And it does not look monotone. So that's the exciting part. And I'm just using things up in the stash. Like this little bit will be gone before the end. So it is proving to be kind of a successful project at removing things from my stash and storage spaces in my craft room, and also in giving me something to do. Excuse me. So if I do not take this with me, and I haven't decided, the other project that I have in progress is a pair of socks. And so I have thought about taking this with me, and I can't decide if I'm going to or not. It still fits the criteria of working on a project where I'm going to knit every row for now, which is fine, but it is on smaller needles. So the other thing that I have going, and I cast these on a long time ago, gosh, I think January or February when I needed a project, I have socks, and I am knitting, excuse me, a 2 at a time sock pattern from Knit Picks. It's called 2 at a time Toe Up Magic Loop, I think, and I am using 2 skeins of Freya. This is her Soulmate sock yarn, which is Shanico, 100% 100% US Shanico Merino superwash, and they are in the colorway Chameleon, and I just love these. They are gradient dyed by Freya, fine hand paints, and they come 2 balls to a set to basically make identical socks, which is also why I am doing a 2 at a time pattern. For those of you who have watched for a while, this is the 2 at a time pattern that I knit a couple pairs of socks in excuse me, in the fall, and for Zen Yarn Garden, and I wanted to knit a pair for myself. The interesting thing about the heel flap is that it goes under the heel and then back up behind the heel, and so that whole section is done sort of in a slip stitch pattern. So I still have a ways to go on the feet, and normally I would be nervous that if I took this project with me that I would like get to the heel and then have to do the knit and purl and maybe be upset about that. Again, I've been trying to knit and not purl so much because the twisting of my wrist is what's causing me pain. And so when I just basically knit as opposed to add purls in there, a lot of times I don't have to twist my wrist, and so it doesn't hurt. So I may bring these along just because it's in a small project bag and it's one project, and I will definitely not finish it. My guess is I will work on it in fits and starts throughout the trip. So that is kind of where I'm at with that one. So that is kind of all the knitting content. Like I told you, it's not a lot. And let's go talk about some embroidery. So last week I showed you a new sampler that I wanted to work on, and I am really enjoying this one, and I kind of forgot. So I was talking about picking samplers and which ones I wanted to do and which one I wanted to take on the plane with me and which ones had fewer threads and which ones had more threads, and I realized that all of my conversation was kind of irrelevant. So let me show you. I ordered a kit from Jessica Long Embroidery, and this is called the Delicate Roses Embroidery Pattern, and it is by Jessica Long, whose card maybe I don't have it in here. Well, you can see her logo here. It's Jessica Long Embroidery, and she has a website that's jessicalongembroidery.com. She also has an Etsy shop, and her kits are also available in a variety of stores. The first way I found her actually is because Missouri Star Quilting Company, the company that I work for, sells some of her kits. That's how I originally found her. And so the little sampler that I'm doing looks like this. It is roses and lots of different vines. So it's pinks and corals, and then lots of greens and teals. And I'm really, really enjoying this. This is sort of the overall project sheet where she tells you kind of the order she works in, and then she shows you all of the threads, and then she tells you like which stitches are which. And then, as I said, she includes, or maybe I didn't say, but she includes a book called Beginner Guide, and it has all the stitches in it that you need to know to do this sampler. So between the two, that's all my knowledge right there. And then the threads came on this little card. So rather than giving me DMC skeins of embroidery floss, she actually just puts the threads that you will need on this project kind of in order on this number chart. So originally I thought I was going to need my whole box of embroidery thread to do this project. And I was like, that's a lot to carry around. Maybe I don't want to carry it. But as it turns out, I'm just using this card because these are the colors that I need, and it is sufficient thread to get me through the pattern. So to be honest, this is kind of all I need to travel, plus my hoop and my embroidery. So I think this might actually go on the trip with me because it's what I'm into right now. It's what I'm working on, and I have everything in this little bag here, and then I can just throw that in my suitcase and go. So let's get to the actual meat of it. She suggests that you start with the roses, and so I am done with the roses, save for the centers where I have to learn French knots to put in the center of the roses. But so I am pretty pleased with those. I did those kind of throughout the week. I did a color or two an evening, and it was just kind of fun, and I enjoyed it, and I kind of learned, the thing that I learned so far is satin stitch. So all of these are done in satin stitch, which is basically just long stitches that cover the space, and you can kind of figure out which angle you want to sew them on, and yeah, so it's kind of fun. And then I don't know, I think next I need to do the leaves, and that is going to be a fishbone stitch. So I need to read the book on how to do those, and then learn how to do those. And I've got, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and is this the 7th back here? No. That might be one. I can't remember. I'll have to, no, I guess not, because that's just leaves. So yeah, so I have the leaves to do, and then I will work on some of the other greenery, and everybody says French knots are hard, so I'm a little, not anxious about it, but I'm a little intimidated by it. So I thought as I might work on those last, because I've got the French knots at the center of the flowers, and then there are a few others around here. You can't, maybe you can see them a little bit. I can't remember. Oh, there are a couple up here, and there are a couple down here. And so that will kind of be the last bit. But I'm really enjoying this kit. Again, it's Jessica Long Embroidery. On the last one, I had to trace my pattern on there. This one, the fabric comes pre-printed with the pattern on it. The only caveat to that is when I traced the pattern, I did it in a water-soluble marker. So when you wash, like if you wash and block the piece when you're done, those lines will come off. They won't be permanent. On this one, the lines are permanent. So she does note that as you begin stitching, you really need to be careful to make sure you cover the lines. And I think I have done that here. Like all the shadows that you're seeing here between the sections are actually just where I change direction with my stitches. It's not actually the black on the lines. So you might be able to see it just a little bit at the center, but I'm going to cover that up with French knots. So I'm very not concerned about that. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. And that is probably what I will take with me on my trip this weekend. So I have a little bit of knitting and a little bit of embroidery. I also did get back into spinning this week. And when I left off, I was spinning some fiber. I can't show you anything because it's all like on the wheel behind me. But what I was gonna say is when we left off, I was working on some fiber from Gritty Knits, and it was I think it was a Rambouillet. Let's see. Yeah, it was a Rambouillet in the colorway Shockwave, which was purple with splotches of neon and tons of other colorways in there. So there was pink and orange and yellow and some green and blue, and it was really, really pretty. And I spun the first half of it and then started on the second half and got stuck like very early on in the second half. And that is when I started having a lot of pain, and then I stopped spinning probably for between 3 and 4 weeks. I picked up knitting, let's see, I had issues starting at the beginning of April, and I went to PT at the beginning of April, and then I took about 2 weeks off before I started to knit again, and then I just started to spin again this week. So yeah, it has been almost 4 weeks. And I finished up the second half of the fiber this week, and then I started to ply last night. And normally I would sit and ply for 2 to 3 hours and finish the whole bump. And normally I just ply it all in one session. But after about an hour last night, my arm was, I won't say it was aching, but it was getting very tired, and I knew that if I kept going, it would hurt. And so part of my it's frustrating to me, but I am trying to stop when I feel tired because I do not want to go back into not being able to do anything. So I got probably about half of it plied up, between like a third and a half. So I probably have another good plying session to sit down and do. And my hope is maybe I'll get to that this week, and then I will have some new handspun to show you. But we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. So I think that is it for me today. I will be returning on Sunday afternoon, evening, so I should have plenty, well, I don't know about plenty, but I should have something to show you on Monday. So you can expect that I will podcast as normal, and even if it's a little bit shorter or there's not quite as much to it. So I hope that you are having a lovely week, that Mayflowers, that April showers have brought you Mayflowers, and that you're not knee-deep in showers. I think that's going to be what we're doing this week. But I hope that you're doing well, that you are enjoying your crafting, and that your spring is off to, I guess I shouldn't say, spring technically started about a month and a half ago. So I'll just say, I hope you're enjoying May, and I will talk to you soon. So happy knitting, happy spinning, happy embroidery, happy sewing, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.